Hi, neighbor Al here. My summer project has me doing a lot of small batch spraying, roughly 10 gallons at a time of each mix, which would be more than challenging with the 40-gallon tank because there's so much gets trapped at the bottom. It's sort of a pain. So I went out and got a 25-gallon Fimco, which you can see here on the back of my tractor, and I'm sharing lessons learned. And one of the things that just came as an epiphany to me one day is these small Fimcos they don't come with hitches or anything. They give you a sprayer and they good luck with that. And they expect you to stick it on the back or the front of your four-wheeler. I don't have a four-wheeler, not like that. But that carry-all is a $50 item from Tractor Supply. Not Tractor Supply, Harbor Freight. It fits into a standard 2-inch receiver hitch, which I have one for the tractor. Plus, it also fits in on the back of my car. So if I ever had to haul something I didn't want in the car, I could put it out there. So it's a really handy thing, and it's very affordable. It takes you less than an hour to put it together, and you've got a really good tool. First thing I would say, though, is when you put it together, they have you put it and set it up so that the nuts are on the inside. Well, they'll gouge the tank. Put it so the heads of the bolts are on the inside and the nuts are on the outside, and you'll save your tank. So anyway, you can see there's the tank about half full, and I actually measure with graduated buckets for a measured 10 gallons because the markings on the sides of these things are lousy. They are not measuring cups. So I'm try to get repeatable accuracy for the concentrations of what I'm working with. You can see my two jugs in the foreground. Yay, yay. The garage is my loading area, and it's also where I store the pesticides. I do not have any restricted use pesticides, so it's mostly to keep them from freezing, and then I can keep the MSDS sheets and everything in one spot. Come on. Oh. This worked a moment ago. There we are. There again, you can see how the tank fits in there. You'll see I also have a small little prop underneath the tank because it wants to wobble across the center spar. Um, the next thing I found that made things a lot easier was I'm measuring a 1% dilution, which is really close to 1.3 fluid ounces per gallon since we're imperial. And that's these pre-marks on here as a 1%. Okay, so I have one at 13 and one at 26. Now, this is a translucent measuring cup, and I'm loving it because I know, am I mixing for 10 gallons or 20 gallons? So I know my batch size. And when I fill, I can look down into the cup and see the tick marks on the inside. So then when I pour to the tick mark. It makes it really brain dead for precision. Doing 10 gallons, I need 1%. I pour to the 10-gallon mark. So that really has simplified things a lot. So that when I pour into the sprayer, I use the spray wand to rinse out the cup back into the sprayer. This is regalia. It's really thick. It's not very clear. So it needs a good rinse to get it out of the measuring cup into the tank. Now, when I'm spraying, my trees are marked. The sample trees are marked with orange flagging tape. These are the trees that at the end of it all, I'm going to be taking measurements from. And it's so I remember, and they were selected for their health and things like that. So these are the sample trees for each row. Better picture. The ones with the checkered flags on them are the control trees. They don't get the sprays that I'm using on the sample trees. They get cover sprays. So if I need an insecticide on, I'll do that. If I've got an issue with rampant disease of one kind or another, they might get a coat for that. But otherwise, they are not getting sprays. They are getting foliar feeds also. So they're marked accordingly. Now you notice I've got a tape, something obvious on the high wire, something obvious on the low wire. something in the tree, something low. The reason for this is when you're spraying, it's easy to kind of zone out and not realize you're coming up on a control tree. So as I approach each row, I stop and I look for those flags. So that reminds me, watch your drift and don't spray these trees. Also, at the beginning of each row, they have flag. Now you'll notice back on these, I've got orange black and black white. I'm doing two different treatments. So the rows are flagged to reflect the treatment that I'm using. That way, I don't space out and spray the wrong row. They're alternating rows with alternating varieties, so there's a reason to my madness here. So that really helps. Do I have something after this? No. That is, in a nutshell, how I am managing the workflow of doing the sprays. Mixing the sprays, using a smaller container. That Fimco sprayer does not have a decent pressure regulator on it, but it's good enough. It's a demand pump, so that it's what I do is I run the agitator, which is just a full bypass. I run that till I get to the orchard. After you get into my orchard, you're agitated, it's all mixed up. I don't have any dissolved solids. There's no wettable powders in here, so I don't have to worry about settling. So as soon as I get to the orchard, I turn off the bypass, and then I'm getting roughly 60 psi. Sometimes I will throttle it back a little bit, especially if it's windy, because I don't want drift, and I just use a tip that gives me big splots and it gets on the tree. Those of you familiar with sprayers, you get it. On the bigger tank, I have a pressure regulator, different video, and that's very helpful for constant pressure and running the agitator simultaneously. So I hope that you find this useful. If you're doing small plots for some reason and you're looking for ways to make it easier, pure and simple, easier, look at that, to do your sprays, this is what I found help. Putting the tick marks on the measuring cup for volume at 1% so totally helps a lot, especially because it's translucent. That was a big win. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope it helps you out. And you take care. Have a great day.